Welcome, everybody, to Zeta Global Radio. I've missed you, and I hope you are thrilled as much as I am to be back on the airwaves. We took a little bit of a break over the last couple months, took some time to reflect on where we wanted to go with the show, how we wanted to make our mark in the world in supporting humanity. That hasn't changed, but we are here now, fully refreshed, revitalized, and thrilled, just absolutely thrilled to be back here. We are now in a new recording studio here on the beautiful island of Pine Island off the coast of Southwest Florida. So everything is feeling really good, and I am absolutely pleased to bring you today's guest. And I've had the luxury, both Howard and I have had the luxury of spending some time with him over the course of the last week, because here we have on the island this beautiful space for spiritual retreats. And we just absolutely enjoyed experiencing one here with our guest today, Martien and Teressena Bakens, and we had just experienced what we're going to talk about today. So it's fresh on our minds. And here we are to talk about really sacred sound for ceremony. Our show, of course, is honoring music and art and film and all these ways that we connect deeper into the truth of who we are. And the show today expands upon just this topic in so many beautiful ways. We're going to be talking today with them all about sacred ceremony, sacred sounds, how they affect us on such emotional, deep levels to help us move further and farther into who we are and out into the world. So, without further ado, it's my honor to welcome them to the show. So, Teressena, Martien, welcome. So glad to have you here live right here in our recording studio.
Thank you so much, Lainey. It's wonderful to be back here and really happy to connect with all you people over the radio waves.
It is wonderful. Florida at this time is glorious, and we really enjoyed this last week and this wonderful new recording studio. So, yay, we are back.
Yeah, so we've been on a journey together, not only the last week, but this is your third time, I believe, on the show. And a year ago, we had you on the show talking about the fullness of who you are. And the time before that was probably the year before that, we were specifically focusing on tarot. But of course, there's so much more to what you both do. You are medicine practitioners, you do shamanic work, you are creators of the fifth tarot, you are artists, you are alchemists. There's such a multifaceted aspect to what all of you do, what you both do and all that you do, but also our experience this weekend in this retreat opened our eyes to the talent that you are in your medicine work with music, and that's primarily what we're here today to talk about. So give us a little bit, and whoever wants to start, just about your background in the shamanic work that you do and the medicine work, and then we'll just give people a beautiful backstory, and then we'll get into the power of sacred ceremony with music.
So, just to begin, I come from a family where my grandfather was a blacksmith, and through the back door, they say he was praying over people. So, yeah, he did healings on people, however you wish to name it. But in a strong Catholic background, that was a very safe way to do. So that tradition has carried on through some aunts, and I have worked for a long time with the gifts that we have been given. And the wonderful thing is that through many connections to ancient cultures and many different traditions, these gifts have just become refined to what we are doing today. And you said, yes, the medicine way is a way of using our gift, our medicine, to assist people. And the funny thing when we do that a lot of what we do when we do it is guided in a way that, yes, sound erupts and or other things come forth.
So you've been doing this work probably in your lineage before you met Teressena. Sounds
Yes.
like it. And Teressena, you too, have you been doing this work well before you met Martien?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I really didn't realize what I was doing was shamanic work until I started studying with some indigenous people, and a lot of things were very familiar in the healing work and in ceremony, realizing I was spontaneously creating ceremony and then understanding from an indigenous perspective some of the protocol in creating ceremony. I've had the wonderful good fortune of learning from Native American medicine women and Mayan elders and Peruvian shaman, and bringing all of that together in a way that is a combination of what comes through, as Martin said, in your own medicine and sharing your gifts with the world.
So when the two of you came together to be, I'm going to not say in business together, to be in union to share your gifts with the world as a collective couple, did it exponentially become even a more powerful force as the two became one and now sharing your unique skill set? Because you have separate ways of doing things and then you have this great unity together.
It is true. We have, on many occasions, worked separately. And when we work together with clients, we have seen that it adds a layer that neither of us necessarily can explain yet. That synergy is simply there. There is a extra layer that we don't have to explain to anybody that has experienced that.
Yeah, and I might just add to that it's there's a rhythm, sort of this ebb and flow that happens in the combination of our energies. There's this beautiful dance that happens in the masculine and feminine energy, particularly in our situation as partners, that facilitates greater forms of expression.
That's wonderful. Okay, so today's topic, we're really going to focus on the work that you're doing and the fact that you bring in so many pieces of music, and they all serve a different purpose, and they all invoke a different feeling, and they all are their own modality. And we know there are sound healers. That's one particular method in a way that people work with sound. Here today we're talking about using sacred sound in ceremony. And let's just take a moment here to talk about it. Do you have a particular ceremony or a practice that you do, or do you want to maybe just talk briefly, like an overview of how you feel why music's so important in a ceremony setting?
Sure. If you ever have partaken of a ceremony, you'll maybe notice that there are drums or there are rattles, or even if you're in maybe a liturgical setting and there's an organ. Or music is a way to enhance people's experience of a particular ceremony or ritual. But the instruments are not usually chosen at random. Each different instrument has a particular purpose that it serves. Some are to awaken, to bring altered states of consciousness. Some are for activation. Some are for healing. Some assist you in drawing in particular energies for that ceremony. And then the instruments themselves have a particular purpose that they serve by the very nature of what that instrument is, as well as the way the instrument was made and the intention for the ceremony. So they're chosen often very consciously. It may sound very beautiful and harmonious without an awareness, but there is usually a reason why these instruments are chosen.
Mm-hmm. Martin?
Well, one of the most amazing instruments we, of course, have been given is our voice. And the fun part with that is that is the instrument that, when used in ceremony, it can really go to amazing depths, and has a relationship, of course, to our chakra centers, has a relationship to opening and waking people up to certain things. And oftentimes after we've had a session, people ask, so when did you do, where's that didgeridoo? Where's that didgeridoo? I don't see it here. And they come to find out that it's my voice, and I can't really, of course, other than For me, it sounds more like Tibetan throat singing. But
Yeah.
again, for somebody on the table, there might be different references to that. And again, I'm just doing it now offhand. When I am in a session, sometimes there's a language that comes forth with that. I am not the director of that. It is related to and relating to the person that comes to us for a session. That energy brings forth whatever is required next.
Beautiful. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, let's get into our first instrument, which I'm feeling we should touch on, the flute. You're listening to Zeta Global Radio. We'll be back in a moment. World-renowned spiritual practitioners Teressena and Martien Bakens invite you to 2 special upcoming Enlightened retreats. May 17th through 19th, join Teressena with co-presenter Cheryl Ryder for the powerful retreat Healing with the 5 Elements, held at the Zavaleta Federal Wildlife Refuge between Belen and Socorro, New Mexico. On June 8th through 10th, Teressena and Martien will be back here in Southwest Florida teaching the sacred spiral of phenomenal people, now reserving on the beautiful tropical paradise of Pine Island. You'll join others to celebrate the sacred understanding of self, to remember the ancient wisdom encoded in your body, and the opportunity to explore the Creator within. You'll emerge with the experience of an even more inspired and empowered you. Early registration and pricing is available for both retreats. For more information on the Elements Retreat, please visit thefifthtarot.com. And for the Sacred Spiral Retreat, please visit beaconsoflove.com. Welcome back to Zeta Global Radio. I am your host, Lainey Savante Wolkin, here in the beautiful Pharmadelica Sound Studio on Bokeelia, Pine Island, Florida. So excited to be here. And I am here enjoying beautiful, beautiful company with our guests today, Martien and Teressena Bakens, who, as I had said in the first segment, do incredible, world-renowned medicine work. They're practitioners. They do shamanic healings, artists, authors, you name it, a lot about them. And, of course, you can go to the beaconsoflove.com. You can go to thefifthtarot.com. And, of course, on our Facebook page, we have lots of information about them. So today we are talking about the beautiful, powerful essence of using music as sacred ceremony, sounds, tones, voice, everything. And I was saying earlier that we were in retreat with them, both Howard and I, and got to experience many different uses of instruments. So I thought we'd just dive right into the first one, which is flute, which is used in so many cultures. So who wants to just touch on maybe sort of the history of flute or your experiences in using flute before we get an actual experience of it for our listeners?
Well, one of the beautiful aspects about a flute, and we're particularly connected to working oftentimes with Native American flutes, but I think it's true with all, you're of course using your breath. And so it is connected to the element of air and the great cosmic in-breath and out-breath. Traditionally, a Native American brave would use the flute to court a maiden, and the symbolical part of that was that it was actually calling from the unmanifest, bringing it into manifestation. So there's this beautiful energy of love, lover, and beloved, both on a literal level as well as in this more esoteric level of the cosmic in-breath and out-breath and that attraction.
And in the Guatemalan region around Lake Atitlan, it was known that in just recent times still, the people were playing the flute, but they're not just playing the flute. They were playing songs of beauty and abundance. And in that way, they were assisting in recreating the world every day through the energy that was in that piece of music. They knew and understood that waves, sound waves, and everything that we do adds to the mandala of life every day. And it is just beautiful that, I would say, in the beginning when I started to play music. So starting with a recorder, quickly you move from that to several flutes, and that takes on a life of its own. And that just always stayed with me. Next to that, Teressena always says, when she wishes to find me anywhere in the world, specifically in stores where I might get lost, she'll hear me whistling, and I whistle all through life. And that's also an expression of a joy that I experience when that occurs. There are resonances there that are just healing and helpful to myself. I truly believe. And that joy is something that at times just carries over when you do that.
Beautiful. Howard and I, of course, were in New Mexico before we came to Florida, and with all the Native American influences there, flute was such a big deal there, and we knew flute makers, and you got to go and see their shops and their homemade, their own private workshops, and it was such a cultural piece too. I mean, it's almost also very generational, that you pass the flute on, and it's just a sacred instrument. Were you going to say something?
I was just going to have Martin whistle maybe for a little bit. And just also, again, the essence in sacred ceremony, the flute representing the hollow flute, that we are the hollow flute, we are the vessel for spirit to come through and give expression.
Beautiful. So we're going to just give you the floor and allow us to hear a little bit of the flute that speaks through you. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Flute to me, when I hear that, invokes such emotion. I mean, it can, I think whatever's going on for you, it can invoke joy, it can invoke peace, and it can also invoke some sadness, some melancholy. I mean, it really, depending on what is going on, it has a full range of emotion.
Absolutely, and that's part of the power of music to heal. Sometimes that emotional response is required for the healing aspect within ceremony as well.
So that is carried on in any of the ceremonies that we're speaking about. And having had this weekend, we went across the field of the elements. So we covered the air and the flute. We worked with the earth and, of course, the drum, the heartbeat of the Earth Mother. And when we talk about something like that, my goodness gracious, I mean, look at the styles of drums there are, from the djembe to the hand drums of the North Native Americans to whatever we choose to go. The drum is such a rhythm of that connection for us that it goes beyond anything, very grounding.
Okay, so we're in drums now, Teressena, which is perfectly fine. I think that's actually a very big topic, and Howard will let us know to the extent that we can talk about it, because I know that drums, of course, go back ancient, similar to flutes. Let's get that right. I mean, from African drums, the drum that we have here was given to Howard from a rural part of Uganda. And the grandmothers there, really painstakingly put that together. And however they did is representing them. And of course, I know you guys are worldwide travelers, so you see drums from all over. And that's part of our passion, too, is when we travel, is picking up instruments because we want to know the history and the story. So do you have any particular stories of drums that have come across your experiences and travels along the way? No pressure.
Perhaps just how universal they are. I mean, every culture all around the world has drums, and I think it's that heartbeat. I mean, the original drum, I mean, you're inside the womb and you're hearing that heartbeat of the mother, and then metaphorically the heartbeat of Mother Earth and our connection to that real primal essence of life through that rhythm of the heartbeat. And then it comes through your feet, and you're just, when you hear it, you can't hear a drum and not move your feet. So you're just with your feet connecting into the earth, into that root, that tribal root community energy of the drum.
Beautifully said.
Do you want to demonstrate any particular tonals of drum, or do you want to pick up the one we have from Uganda, or give it a whirl, or how are you feeling?
Let's do
Who
that
plays?
part.
You both play the drums, correct?
I would answer the question this way. I can play the drum, a Native American hand drum. Martin has an incredible sense of rhythm, and he could play any drum.
I have a cajon, and I'm learning my best to do that in rhythm in step 2. But just, here's a perfect story. I did go through a loss a few years ago, and one of the first things I did was going out and buy the cajon, because for me that was a sense of getting, working past some grief. So everyone has a reason, but to me it felt so carnal, so away to ground, and I had never had a cajon. It was just like, go out and get a cajon. I mean, really, like, I was guided.
Well, that, and you look at children cross-culturally, any child will play with something as a drum. They will intuitively, instinctively, rhythmically beat something as a drum.
Pots and pans
Yeah.
or anything. No, that's true. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll see if we can get Martien to come on and do a little drumming of some sort. You're listening to Zeta Global Radio. We'll be back in a moment. Trice Massage Therapy and Skincare is Southwest Florida's premier holistic and wellness spa to relax, repair, and rejuvenate your well-being. Founded by Lucille Trice, this enlightened haven located in Cape Coral offers a variety of massage therapies including Swedish, deep tissue, and trigger point massage. Additionally, Trice offers detoxifying services including facials using natural, organic ingredients to pamper your skin and restore balance and health. Mention ZGR and listeners will receive a pampering detox ionic foot treatment. Visit their Facebook page today or call 239-672-0526 and book your experience today. Thank you for that. So we did get some drumming out of Martien. Thank you. I love that. And I hope you all enjoyed that too. Well, obviously, there's no one drum that fits each person. You can have a variety of different instruments and different drums. I mean, we saw handheld drums, and we got the bongos in a way, and we've got all different ones. So any suggestion is just whatever people are called to, if they feel they want to bring that into their experience.
Absolutely. For any instrument, intuitively what you're drawn to, what you feel an affinity for, and what sings or what resonates with your heartstring.
Sure. Perfect.
When also people can go to these wonderful drum making classes, and they can find out if one of those drums really fits for them.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so the rattle. Let's go into that, Teressena. That, of course, I had a shamanic session with you. Very, very powerful. I was in the retreat. Rattle, to me, did rattle. It did loosen. It did create an experience for me. So tell us about the rattle, because that's a very important piece in ceremony.
Sure. Well, we had mentioned the flute connected with air and the drum connected with earth. The rattle has the ability to awaken, to activate, to break up and combust. It's a fire energy. And if you think of a rattle like the rattle of a rattlesnake, it's connected to that coiling of that serpentine energy, the kundalini energy within our body. So when you hear a rattle, you can hear how it has that ability to move energy. Even in rock and roll, we say, shake, rattle, and roll. It has that ability to break up energy and also to break us out of our current mindset of consciousness and awaken us to other states of consciousness. So when you hear that, it kind of just shakes loose all the stuff that is hanging out there in a cloud and just brings you into a clearer present state to yourself, to the ceremony, to what's happening.
Did you have to search far and wide for that particular rattle? I mean, how is that one your rattle for ceremony? You always have good stories, so I thought you'd have a good one with that one too.
I have a number of different stories. Let me first just preface that, Lainey, a little bit. There are many different types of rattles, and it's kind of like if you pick it up and you feel it, you'll be like, oh, that's the one. And you can also make rattles out of so many different things. You can make rattles out of gourds. We have a rattle at the house that's made out of a turtle shell and animal hide. You can use shells or beads or crystals or seeds or whatever. This particular one was just one that I picked up in my hand, and it just... there are, probably a whole basket full of them that look the same, but this one sounded a certain way, and it has a serpent on it, which is the serpent energy for me is part of the medicine that I work with and part of the energy of the rattle, so that was why this particular one spoke to me.
Well, I was thinking about wind chimes the same way that you can have 1,000 wind chimes, but finding that one that's got that tone that talks to your soul. So it's very similar. Martien?
Well, I wish to remind us of Marshall, who had these astounding rattles and drums with him last weekend. And he had some antlers on which he had 3 rattles on each of the antlers. Those things were astoundingly powerful. And he's here on the island, so for people that are local on Pine Island, by golly, it's a very nice source for good drums and rattles.
We'll have to source that. Yeah, I think that I agree. I was absolutely blown away. Some of them had amethyst and peridot and different crystals inside. So very, very much a power tool. Okay.
Just one more thing
Sure.
there, Lainey. I know Teressena uses oftentimes the rattle for journeying, and so that is another way that in ceremony the rattle or the drum gets used and is very helpful for going on that nice journey. It takes you very deep.
Well, and what's coming to mind as I'm thinking about what you're saying is I'm thinking about how from the very get-go we give babies rattles, and it's almost like when we're in ceremony, are we going back to the beginning and having to evoke those energies if we're healing something from the womb, from the childhood? Is that going to somewhere in our synapses, somewhere in our super subconscious? So, yeah.
Yeah, both for healing, as you so well stated, and then as Martin was talking about, when we're infants, we're still fairly close to the spirit world from which we came, and that rattle has the ability in ceremony to connect us to that spiritual realm.
Beautiful. Wow. Very, very impactful. Were you going to say something?
And soothing.
And soothing. Okay, I think we have time for one more musical instrument in this segment. And let's go ahead and work with what you have, Martien, in your hand. Let's talk about that.
Well, the rain stick has been just used for that wonderful slow sound that the little beats or whatever is in them, oftentimes seeds, that just flow down and create this wonderful slow sound. It is also like the ocean is moving rocks on the beach, and by golly, of course, so many of us know how relaxing that can be, just being by the ocean. And again, like you just before said with the rattle, some of those sounds bring something about in us that is very primal, and we know just walking by the ocean can break stress, can make us so relaxed that finally we get back to our roots. That's why people say it's so important to walk on our bare feet, not just in grass, but by the ocean, and just experience those wonderful sounds.
You mentioned Lake Adelan before, and the rain stick that you are holding actually was from a roadside vendor on the hilltop of just looking over Lake Adelan. So it does connect the rain, and I was thinking about the water, that it's very much all-encompassing, and plus that's a beautiful sacred spot.
The movement that you use when you work with the rain stick is also sort of this backward and forward motion, which is like the ebb and flow of the water of the ocean. And so it does connect you with that aspect within Mother Earth, and in the cosmos, it's this ocean of consciousness. And so this rhythmic ebb and flow not only connects you to Mother Earth, but also in that consciousness to take you into that place of dreaming, not so much journeying as much as dreaming, that ability to just float in that ocean of consciousness, that floating energy.
Beautiful. Ha, jinx. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about flow, and we're going to talk more about the water element, and we're going to discuss what it is to work with the conch shell. You're listening to Zeta Global Radio. We'll be back in a moment.
Spiritual Communities Network, where we honor the uniqueness in our oneness. Visit our website to meet our vast spiritual community of healers, therapists, conscious events, and activities. Visit and check out our directory, upcoming retreats, workshops, products, free videos, and much more. Many services are available globally by phone, Skype, and other sources of media. You'll also find more information on how you can be a member to promote the work you're doing in the world. Visit us now at spiritualcommunitiesnetwork.com.
Welcome back to Zeta Global Radio. I hope you are taking in all this wonderful, wonderful sounds of sacred ceremony, ones that you might have already experienced in your life or may have the opportunity to do so, either taking some of the upcoming courses and workshops that the Bakens offer, and they'll talk about that more later, or ones that you may have wherever you are in the world. You'll take more of a conscious observing notice of how important music is utilized, whether even if it's just in background, even if it's just in processing during a retreat, or when they intro a new topic, or you leave to break the energy up. You will probably, hopefully after the show, see more an awareness of how the importance of music in ceremony is making a difference in your experience.
I wish to come back shortly, Lainey, to that place that you mentioned before, Lake Atitlan, where
Sure.
the rain stick was from. The beautiful part, of course, of Lake Atitlan, for those that do not know the area, there's the astounding energy of the volcanoes that creates that essence of creativity that you see around the lake, whether it's in weaving, painting, or anything that the people do there. You see it in their beautiful huipilas that they wear, and so much of that is there. And then that astounding energy of that fire is balanced with that water of the lake. That is a very special lake, and I just have to remind myself every time of the kids who just play to sunset in that lake. It's just, I love it. I love that place, and it's very special. And there are a lot of people that go there simply to experience the magnificence of the area. And I mentioned it before. This is an area where Martien was speaking about in his books, with the flutes and the people that really knew how to work with the energies for recreating the world every day.
Beautiful. So let's move into the experiences of the conch shell and talk about that piece. Go ahead, Teressena.
Well, the conch shell, by its very nature, if you look at it, it has this spiral energy to it. And so it connects us to the galaxy, to the Milky Way. It connects us to that celestial origin. But also because it comes from the ocean, it connects us to the origins of life also here on Earth. It has this womb energy, the sacred feminine energy. And when you blow the conch shell, the sound of it has such a resonance that it's like heralding, it's announcing, it's drawing people to the ceremony. But because you hear that resonance with your heart and feel it in your heart, it's like you come present from your heart, fully present from that place of heart-centered. So it's used in many different cultures for opening ceremony.
Wonderful. Well, let's, do you both play the conch? Or
We do.
You both do it? Okay, so one of you gets to demonstrate it for us, and I'm very excited. You choose amongst yourself, but this is the conch shell. Wow, okay. Thank you for that. Teressena.
Yeah, just a fun little story about the conch shell. Martien and I facilitate sacred journeys to the Mayan lands, and at one point, I think we were at Tikal, and we were doing a ceremony. And when we finished the ceremony, we noticed a man standing off to the side with his camera. And he came up to us and he says, "You know, what were you doing?" And we explained to him. And he said, "So, like that conch shell really does something?" And we said, "Well, here, if you'd like to experience it, we'll blow the conch shell for you." And when we blew it, you can't not feel the conch shell. So what he felt so moved him, and we invited him to participate in our next ceremony that we were doing. And at the end of that ceremony, he said, now I see. Before I was looking through the lens of the camera to see the ceremony. Now I've experienced the ceremony. And I think with all these things that we're sharing, the most important part that we would like to say to you, the listener, is to experience this, to find yourself an instrument that calls to you, and just tune in to what is the sacredness of that instrument for you.
I love that. Well, my instrument is the crystal singing bowls. I've had a fascination with them for a very long time. I know that they're used, obviously. We have the Tibetan singing bowls that have been around for thousands and thousands of years, and there's many different types of bowls. But I've been always vastly drawn to them, and I love the opportunity to use them in ceremony. We've used them here in the studio. I've recorded on albums with Howard with them, and I'm so pleased that there's more to it than just loving it by me witnessing you both playing it and how you incorporated it into your ceremonies over the last retreat. And if you want to touch on just what the bowls mean in the world of sacred ceremony.
Well, as many of you know, the Tibetan bowls, but also the alchemy bowls that more recently have come out, and the crystal bowls, are tuned to certain chakras, and they carry such deep sound that truly align people with the fullest expression of that chakra. And I was really pleased that Leni was having these glorious alchemy bowls. One was Imperial Topaz, as I remember, and the other one was Kyanite Rose.
Nice, yes.
And by golly, those were beautiful, and we're definitely doing what they're there to do with us on that journey that we're taking in that element of ether.
Ether, great.
Well, and again, if you look at that particular instrument, and what they're made out of crystals and minerals which have a very high vibration. So the intention in using those instruments is to awaken and activate the upper chakras primarily, to move us into a higher vibration of resonance, both for healing and for awakening consciousness, and for an expansion, as Martin said, this alignment that happens of our true self in these higher vibrations, and then this expansion of our gifts and abilities and awareness from that higher vibration energy.
Beautiful. Do you want to move into chanting and singing? Because as you had said earlier, when you were using your voice, I would just want to kind of come back to that, because there's many other ways, obviously, to use our voice, but we are an instrument, and I just think we started with that, and we can almost end with that.
Well, one of the things, of course, in the chanting, or more importantly, in a word of connectedness, Aum, or Amen, or however we choose to reflect that, is oftentimes used at the ending of ceremonies when people create that sound together. And it's, of course, very sacred in that way.
And just a very simple exercise I'd invite each of you to do in your own homes is to just close your eyes and tune in, tap into your heart space, and just open your mouth and let that sound out. And maybe you kind of play with it a little bit till you find it, but there is your tone. So maybe you just tap in like this and sit and connect and... That's your heart song, that's your heart tone, it's your rhythm. And imagine if you had 20 people in a room and everyone was singing their heart tone, their heart song. What a beautiful symphony that would be.
That's beautiful. Can you top that, Martin? Because that was really... I loved your low voices. I love that. I mean, I was totally blown away with the chanting. That was so, I mean, whatever you did the other day was like, wow.
Yeah, the purpose of chanting, I mean, in many different traditions, Native American, Indian, Hindu traditions, I mean, in many traditions there's this chanting, and again, the intention of that is you feel the vibration of that chant, and it does take you into altered states of consciousness so you can travel in between. And I guess that's really part of the whole idea of sacred sound within ceremony, is to connect you to the natural and the supernatural, to be able to bridge those realms. So when you're chanting, if you're asking me to just spontaneously chant something,
if you want to.
Sure.
My background is in Hinduism, and chanting the Hanuman Chalisas might take a while, so I'm not going to do that, but I could say it is one of the most invigorating and special tonal feelings in my heart.
Okay. So again, this is nothing planned. Lainey's just doing this on the spot, so I'm just with my intention, connecting with the healing of the planet, the healing of the earth.
Beautiful. Thank you.
And because we are still with these sounds, of course, we were speaking about this retreat that we had last weekend, and we were just at the water's edge, and we were working with the energy of the shell, and something pretty potent happened. We had seen that one of the participants had a connection to that shell, and something occurred with that shell. She had a transmission through the shell, and what all occurred there was very deep, and only those things happen when we are carrying that into ceremony. It's not something that just, you do by the side of the road. It's something that is with that intent that we carry for each other, for the purpose of why we came together this weekend, and something like that occurs. And we can only be grateful that we are at that moment present to ourselves and allow ourselves to be that shaman, be that medicine person, be that channel, some people say, for that energy to come through. And I know that the participant was very grateful for what occurred, so I am very grateful for that. She said it broke open something from long ago and opened her up to new things. So again, all those things we speak out of gratitude for the gift of us participating and sharing sounds, but also ceremony with other people.
Beautiful. So for those of you who are interested in spending more time with Martien and Teressena and getting to know them further and the work that they do you want to share about, I know that we have something in development for May back here in Florida, and you could touch briefly about that, and then any other ways they can connect with you and see live and in person what it's like to experience sacred sounds in your ceremonies.
We would love to meet with you live and in person for these ceremonies. So Lainey referenced the Sacred Spiral, which is a beautiful retreat weekend of working with the energy of the spiral, spiraling inward, going deeper and deeper, connecting in with the truth, the authentic part of who you are. And once we tap into that, then spiraling outward, finding a way to give that creative expression. So we do a lot of different creative exercises, meditation, ceremony, exploration. And then after we connect in with what our unique gift is and the essence of who we are, we come to bring that into the collective spiral, tapping into that universal consciousness. It's a very empowering, inspiring, transforming opportunity to connect. And
the dates on that? Are we clear on that?
I think they should go ahead and just check back. They can check back on our Facebook page for Zeta Global Radio, and when we have it all solidified, they can also go to beaconsoflove.com.
And I guess the other thing that I would like to share with our listeners is that we are getting ready to launch in March a group of sort of a school, if you will. We're calling it Sacred Space Studies, which is a curriculum of shamanic practices and medicine teachings that you can participate in and experience as a group of courses for shamanic study.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your gifts. Thank you for being such incredible healers for the planet. And I also wanted to just share that you touched on before you did go into that spontaneous chant, a prayer for the mother, a prayer for the planet. And I do want to add and thank that the Bakens are part of our big Music to Heal the Earth project, which you can find out more about, which is music with the number 2, musictohealtheearth.com, as well as m2heal.com. We'll be talking more and more as we go through this new launch of Zeta Global Radio, all about music to heal the earth, all the many, many global musicians and contributors and spiritual leaders and authors and climate change, all wanting to save the mother, to help the mother, to bring awareness to all of us in what we're doing and what we can do more to save the planet. And we're grateful for the Bakens to be on that album as well, lending their voices as to how they feel and what they feel that we can do in support of the mother. You're going to say one more?
I just wanted to express our gratitude. Thank you for allowing us to be and share with your listeners. Thank you to all the people out there for tuning in. And also thank you to you and Howard for the amazing work that you're doing on the planet and for creating this wonderful resource for people to tune in and get a lot of information.
Excellent.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you. Aho. Thank you. Well, I couldn't have picked or felt the spirit of alignment with having the Bakens here for our first show, and we're so glad you're back with us. Please visit us at ZetaGlobalRadio.com. We have tons and tons of archives of shows we've done over the last several years on many, many subjects. We are leaning the show now towards moving into the more of the arts, so you're going to see a lot of shows based on music, based on film, and the whole media aspect of people, including celebrities who are going to be sharing. Celebrities are going to be focused and spotlight on what they're doing to make a difference in the world with their power. So thank you for being here. Blessings to all. We'll see you next week.